a Ray Allen or like a JJ Redick, like all pin downs, all like I can do it, but that ain't my game. Like, you know what I mean? I need some flow. I need some mixes of pick and rolls. I need some post ups,
all that,
just different touches. You know what I mean?
All right, Perk, is PG saying that Doc didn't play him in the right spots? BS or real talk? I can't tell what your answer is. It's just hard to see where you're going here. That's it?
You know what, Rachel? That's BS. Matter of fact, that's a bunch of BS. And it was a coward move by Paul George by blaming Doc Rivers for his lack of productivity and not being accountable for him not showing up on the basketball court. Because of anybody who watched the Clippers play this season and in the bubble know that Paul George wasn't just coming off of pin downs, that he had the ball in his hands. He was able to run pick and rolls. He was able to get post-ups. Do you know this past season when Paul George had the ball in his hands, it was the most ever that he ran pick and rolls with the ball in his hands in his career. And by the way, he told another lie. I'm pretty sure about this. Listen, Doc Rivers did not treat Paul George like he was Ray Allen, because you know why? Ray Allen not coming off of pin downs and missing wide open three-pointers. So I know that was a lie off the top. It was a cowardless move, in my opinion, and he should have held himself accountable and not throw Doc under the bus for him not performing the way he should have performed, period.
Well, that's super strong, Perk, and I'm distracted by Richard not understanding where the camera is with his phone. Go ahead.
This is BS. This is the BS, and it's getting out of hand. Like, this is getting out of hand. Like, Paul George is putting himself in a position to, not necessarily to be criticized, but it's like, I have yet to hear a legitimate, like, you know what? I need to be better. I heard him say that during the postseason, and he actually corrected himself. You saw he had some really good games after struggling a little bit. He was open about struggling in the bubble. And people have given Paul George, I don't want to say a pass, because he's one of the more talented players. He's one of the best two-way players in this league. He is the reason why one of the reasons why that they picked, I picked him to win the championship. But when you start criticizing your coach on the way out, you could easily have just said, hey, look, you know what? It didn't work out. There were some things that, there was some rhythm things. But to call out pick and rolls and then people go to the stats and say, wait, you played more pick and roll here than you ever did and a higher percentage of plays, that just shows that, like, look, at the end of the day, do I believe Paul George believes this? Yes. I believe that Paul George believes that it was Doc Rivers' fault. But ultimately, Perk and I both know this. When you're a superstar, when you have your own signature shoe from Nike, you're one of 5 guys with a signature shoe by Nike. Those things aren't just given out. Those are given out to the elite of the elite of the elite. You can't shoot shots off the side of the backboard in the fourth quarter after being up 3-1 in double digits in every single game. You can't talk about the coach and the rhythm and the pick and rolls. You can't do that.
Well, you guys both talked about the numbers. Here they are. We can show them. And you're right, Perk. This was a career high for him. Plays where he finished in the pick and roll, 33%. So the numbers are just the numbers there, right? Now, organizationally, and I'm not talking about specifics with Paul George, organizationally, clearly, the Clippers as a whole, at least in some part, felt that Doc Rivers had blame in what happened last season because he's the one they got rid of. So that's how you know that they held him accountable, but also sometimes the coach is the easiest one to change. I think sometimes conversations like this happen when there's too much time in an off season. I'm not sure how this managed to happen in a short off season, but the bottom line for Paul George or anyone else on that Clippers team is that they have to be accountable this coming season. And I think the only thing that they have in their advantage on that score is if the expectations were very high going into last season. Richard, you said you picked them, right, to win a title. I don't think those expectations are that high this season, right? I mean, you guys aren't picking them as your favorite to win the title, so they can only beat them, right?
Well, they should. The expectations should be high. The only reason why the expectations have dropped is because of their performance, right? Like, that's the key thing. It's not that somebody's injured or they lost a ton of people in free agency or they lost some. No, it's because we saw their performance or lack thereof. And so everyone's expectations have now dropped. But they are still one of the top 2 or 3 teams. If you tell me this year, with the roster that they have, if they play great, that the Clippers can win the championship, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be like, yo, yeah, they have all the pieces there necessary to win a championship. It's just a matter of whether or not players play up to their capability. And it wasn't just Paul George. Kawhi Leonard was at fault at a lot of this too. He had a god-awful second half and a god-awful fourth quarter. So we can't just focus in on Paul George. It was the pairing of the two.
And you know what's crazy is that some of my old coaches like Doc Rivers and Sam Cassell, some of my older brothers, my family from the Celtics, even Ty Lue would call me and Coach Rex, and say, Perk, you got the Lakers to winning the championship. That's how you feel? And I was like, yeah. For one of my many reasons is I didn't trust Paul George, and not in the crucial moments. From his history, even when you go back to Oklahoma City, I remember one game in particular. It was a closeout game in Utah, and he went, 2 for 15 from the field while Russ dropped 45. And after that, I saw his body language, and I could see it in his eyes, and I told him all season, I don't trust Paul George, and this is the reason why.
Well, look, as someone who worked sidelines for some of his games in Indiana where they went toe-to-toe with LeBron, I know that Paul George has it in him. I am interested to see what happens this coming season. When challenged, what do you do? All right, next up, let's talk about Damian Lillard. We know what he does when he's challenged. He joined hip-hop legend Fat Joe for an IG Live conversation, and he was asked about the bubble. Take a listen to what he had to say.
To me personally, the bubble was way easier because it was just like, it was really no distractions. We didn't have to travel after games. It was like boom, boom, get up the next morning, practice all in one spot. So like our bodies was recovering faster. We was more rested. I mean, it was way easier to me. I think that's why you saw a lot of people just killing like that.
All right, guys, I want to see your emojis on both of you. What do you got? Ooh, some real talk. Give it to me, Perk. Why?
Look, one thing about it, I believe Dame Dollar is one of the realest that the NBA has ever seen, and he has never shown me any type of BS. So if we're gonna have him on this segment, BS or real talk, it's always gonna be real talk because Dame Dollar was dropping 50s in that bubble. So I believe every word that he's saying.
I respect Dame this because all of us took a little bit of heat when we saw these elevated numbers by so many players, right? We saw the Phoenix Suns play the best basketball that they've played in 9 years. We saw Jamal Murray. We saw Donovan Mitchell. We saw TJ Warren. We saw some amazing numbers, even the young fellas for the Miami Heat. And You saw the way Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. There was something that was very simple about playing a game, going straight to your room, waking up, having all the rest, no distraction, no nothing to do, no travel, and then getting back into the gym and playing in that exact same gym again. It helped a ton of shooters. If you can mentally lock in and focus, you saw it. That's why there were numbers that we had never seen before. 50 ball after 50 ball after 50 ball from like the Denver Utah series. It was just, you just saw these amazing numbers. These guys were in the same category as like Michael Jordan. And it was just because it was a simpler way to play the game of basketball, especially for a team like Portland, that every time they get on the plane, it's 2 hours
That's
and
what
change.
I was going to say.
Every time.
It just underscores that, right?
And that's on the short end.
Yep. No, it just underscores for
travel.
them that their travel is among the worst in the NBA in terms of what they have to deal with, and not having to do that totally changed the game. All right, guys, coming up, Giannis